They're going to raise rates, and they will. And they will curb this inflation, and this is going to fall apart.
Let's go, Vancouver, baby.
Let's go. Oh my God. So excited, TK.
You know what I'm so excited about?
What?
The comment section.
The comments are going to be fantastic.
The comment section after today's episode is going to be entertainment for the week.
Before we get taken over here, and maybe we don't ever get a chance to talk about Canadian real estate again for the rest of the show, what are you seeing out there right now?
Well, Treb just released their numbers.
They're going to raise rates, and they will. And they will curb this inflation, and this is going to fall apart.
Year over year, 5.4% growth or something like that. 5.3.
Down 41%.
41% sales
year over
year. Downward trend, 5.4%. Downward, month over month, sorry. So compared
prices
to last
up,
month,
though, up. GTA prices.
That's a year
up,
over. That's a year. That's a year ago.
I know, but that's what you're hearing. Everybody,
condo market is propping up those numbers, which means we're probably neutral from a year ago already. Guess what next month is going to say?
Well, we can't just change the number. I mean, that's the number.
Next month, it's going to say prices are down.
Down, but year over year. Where are we month to over month? Do you know
minus 5.4%.
Average price? Is that price?
All home types, average price. Yeah.
All home types, GTA, average price, month over month, down 5%.
Yep.
Okay, I can handle that.
Yeah.
What was the month before that? Month over month? What was the drop?
I can't remember, but it was in those like low digit numbers. Yeah.
Low digit numbers also. So that's not good. Month after month, having those kind of declines, but better than 20%.
Here we go.
Get ready. So, my wife just said to me, she's like, I keep seeing articles of houses selling over asking. I thought the market was falling apart. What's going on?
I got an offer date today. I got guys calling me already. You know, we'll see what happens. So things are moving. If you got it priced right and you've got the seller's head space into the right zone, which is today's prices are worth more than tomorrow. So yes, you're going to take less than yesterday, but today's price, it may not feel great, but it's going to be a lot better. And on closing, guess what? You're going to be so happy because your house will be worth even less and you're going to be walking out a winner. Just like the buyer, exact same mentality. The buyer who paid over asking in the market before, right? Highest price on the street. Oh, I'm such an idiot. I paid so much. I can't believe it. By the time they move in, they said, yes, my neighbor sold for this much and they don't have a finished basement. I'm worth this much more now. I can't believe I got such a great deal. The sellers have to do the same thing. They have to go through this painful, embarrassing, oh, I'm taking so little. I can't believe that I'm giving away my house. 3 months later, when they're closing, they're going to be saying, whew, I'm glad I cashed out at that price. Jeez, glad that guy's got a big deposit. That's the mentality shift. It's gone from the buyers to the sellers.
Well, listen, on a macro, it's easy to see, future trends that should happen based on today's data, right? And it's easy to look back and go like, well, of course that happened. Like in hindsight, that makes perfect sense. But TK, like we can't waste any more time today.
They don't want to hear from us, Darryl.
You want to talk about prognostication and these crystal balls? Like, you know what though? I'm not joking. And I'm going to put a link somewhere, I think over here is where it will end up. Possibly. The last time this guy was on the show, because if you watch it, which I did as research, because I didn't know how to research, this guy's like a wild stallion. I don't know if I can corral him, right? Yeah. I don't know what to talk about. So we'll just let him lead the way. But last time he was on the show, he talked about a lot of stuff that's pretty prevalent and prominent today. He warned all of us for a long time. And it turns out that he was dead on about a lot of things. And,
let's bring him on.
He's got his own style.
This episode is brought to you by
getting his message
Landlord.
across. That's for
This
damn
landlord
sure.
software. Forgive us
a
for our
game
listeners
changer.
who are
If
new
you
and
upload
haven't
your
had
properties
mics
on
on
the
the
show,
show yet.
upload all the information, income, expenses, timelines, mortgage details, everything that you need to have so that you keep track of everything in your portfolio. And as you go through real-time adjustments in, rent increases and water bills and tax bills and everything else, they're going to actually give you recommendations on how to make your portfolio more efficient. And it just breaks everything down for me in a way that I've never seen before. Like Excel spreadsheets just don't cut it. I don't think there's a better program or app out there for investors, and it's free.
Please click the link below for your free trial offer.
Had Mike on the show yet.
The one and only. He's been waiting a long time. He had a little time.
Well, we flew
little
to
time issue.
We flew
while
to
we were
Vancouver
flying.
today for this show just to be able to meet the needs of the time zone, right? So if you can
That's
tell by
right.
our backgrounds, apparently that's Vancouver. Never been.
That's
First
we're-
time
we're-
here.
Can you
we're
hear me?
waiting for the video here. We can
We're
hear the
I
goat.
hear you, Mike.
We can hear the Canadian
There we go.
YouTube goat. There he is. The goat live. Ready
Oh,
to
he's in
go.
Toronto.
He came
No.
to Toronto and we flew to Vancouver.
No, that's not Toronto.
Where
what
is
is that?
he? Are you in China?
That's the Freedom Tower. That's like New York. That's Manhattan.
That's Manhattan.
Ah,
Okay,
Manhattan.
great.
All right. So you're
Well,
in
he's
New
in New
York.
York.
We're
Sorry,
in
we
Vancouver.
came to Vancouver
What the fuck?
Uh-oh.
All right.
to meet you.
To meet
All
you.
right.
But
So-
we're glad you made it, Mike.
I'm
Now-
happy you guys called me on. I usually try to make an appearance once a year.
Appreciate
And
that.
whenever you guys need some, I guess, on the ground, boots on the ground here out west,
We
I
need
can
some-
do my best to fill that void for you guys.
Some
Is
zest.
there something interfering with your signal? You have a blurry.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's my 4K. Let me see. Let me see if
Maybe
it's
we're-
the lighting here. Hold on a sec. Maybe adjust a bit more lighting.
There we go. That's
much better.
That's way better.
It goes in and out. I don't know why. I think because it's through this streaming software you guys are using, auto adjusts my camera.
Well, you look good. So we're back on track, Mike.
Here we
Okay.
go. Ready to rock and roll.
We want to
Mike
hear what's going on.
Martins.
The market's changed a lot since we saw you, Mike.
Woo! I told you guys they're going to have to raise rates to curb against inflation, double-digit runaway inflation. And it's been happening for a long time now. Now, I set something up just for you guys for this show tonight, going through a little bit of a historical archive to show how we got to this situation 8 years ago, right? So
Before we start, Mike, I want to just point out something, okay?
Yeah.
Last time you've been on the show, there was a lot of stuff that we talked about, a lot of
Yeah.
information, a lot of it was coming from different sources, right?
Right.
And I want to make sure, because you're a friend of the show, I want to make sure today that, anything we talk about, that we know where it's coming from. So that way nobody says afterwards, well, Mike is pulling information from places that, aren't mainstream or whatever it is. So I want you to keep that in mind.
Last time I opened all
Body
the
parts.
articles in order and showing you guys one by
Yeah.
one.
No, you did. You did.
Yep.
People don't really pay attention. Now, also, I want to just play a clip from the last show to show how bang on this guy was, because not only was the title of it last time that the Toronto market's going to crash in Q2 of 2022, which I think kind of happened, right? Or is in the process of happening. But like here's a little clip from last show. Bear with me here. I'm gonna hopefully do this right and get the audio. Here we go. This is Mike from our last show.
Daryl's got it set up today. He's
Ready to rock and roll.
I got
here.
my Blue
Okay.
Jay shirt on.
like that,
Here we
that
go.
hair too. It's
Check it out. You don't want to miss it.
You start to see it frail and collapse by the wayside, especially if wages won't keep up with the price of housing. So Q2 of 2022, I'm throwing my hats. I'm putting my name on that. Q2 of 2022 is when you start to see it fracture.
Mike Martins.
you heard it here.
Live,
When was that?
right
About
here.
a year ago, or
That was in
9 to 12 months ago?
October.
October.
Yeah,
Okay.
October.
9 months ago.
Yeah.
Mike,
You guys
Mike
don't
was
know-
warning us.
Yeah, wow. That you guys are making me feel emotional now in the early morning here on Wednesday morning. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys bringing that little scrap of archive up to kind of reiterate. So, I got a few articles I opened. Just if you don't mind, I want to bang out a few headlines here quick.
Let's go.
Then, so it's just from your local CBC, and some of the headlines here. I'm not sure how to share my screen. Share screen. So I want to share this screen, I guess. Yeah, share. All right, here we go, guys. I disappeared.
Today's
Oh,
news.
there I am on the side there. Okay, I'm trying to figure this out. Can you guys see the screen?
Yep.
We got you.
Okay. Toronto housing market continues to slow down with sales down 41%. Again, we are seeing a oversupply going on the market right now, and sales are going down, and inflation is kicking in, and we're going to start to see it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Canada's most expensive real estate market is dropping on average $2,200 per day. And this is the same patterns that we saw back in 2007 and 2008 in the United States. In states like Florida, Texas, you were seeing drops of corrections of about a couple of $1,000s per day. And Canadian households to cut spending and pay down debts if rates rise. Now, this is important because you're going to start to see consumer confidence go by the wayside, and consumer spending will go down, in turn destroying our consumer economy that we've built from consuming, not production, right? And Canadian real estate prices to see the sharpest drop in global downturn, says Goldman Sachs.
Does anybody else notice a pattern here? Is it only better dwelling? Because we all know better dwelling does tend to be a little pessimistic.
Yeah, no problem.
Look at that next one.
Better dwelling.
Well,
Okay.
these guys have been on.
But there's no doubt that the market's gone to shit and that you were right. So let's skip all that. Listen, last time you proved to the world that you are right and that you can see into the future. We don't need to rehash that. What we need to know is what you think is going to happen next, Mike, because you were right 9 months ago. We don't need to relive the past. We're coming to you for guidance in the future. So let's get rid of the share screen. We're going to have a conversation. We don't need evidence of anything. We know that you are ahead of all of us, okay? So we need to talk about things like, okay, so you called the crash last time. How did you know? How did you know it was going to be in Q2 of this year?
Well, I knew because they were having a tough time hiding inflation, and I knew this was going to happen back in August of 2019. I kind of connected the dots. And I showed you that video. I showed you that video on my channel, the man who predicted the you-know-what in August of 2019. I don't want to say it on here because I don't want to get, but I started seeing it and started connecting the dots across the board. And everything goes back to housing in the end. Everything. This world of hurt we've been in for the last 4 or 3 or whatever years you've been seeing the world of hurt, or people under stress, whether it's through political stress, pharmaceuticals, whatever it is, mainstream media stress, it's been a buildup over the last pretty much since 2012, 2013. It's been a buildup for years. I've been saying that the market is going to see a correction for years now, because I've been going under the basic understanding fundamentals textbook, what you learn in a school, saying, well, this doesn't wages are way too nowhere near what the cost of living is. There needs to be a correction. And then we're reading articles in the Toronto Sun that 18 years of income to afford a 1-bedroom in Toronto. So we were getting to that point where it was getting more and more hard for the average middle class worker to get into any market in Canada by 2018. And in BC, they were reissuing the first-time home buyer loans. They scrapped the first-time home buyer. No, what was that? They scrapped those rules and regulations that they did, where they test your TDS, your total debt service ratio, to make sure you could afford the property. And they scrapped that. And you could see it. You could see they were desperate to keep the housing market going. And I figured, with the whole administration in the United States, everything going by the wayside. And I just figured by Q2 of 2022, we were going to see definitely start seeing a big fracture in the housing market, right?
And so why do you think this time they're gonna like let it get really, really, really bad? Why are they not gonna save it this time?
Well, again, they created this Frankenstein banking monster years ago with artificially low interest rates. And they realized that they have no choice but to raise interest rates. Now, we're at a point right now, if they don't raise interest rates, we're going to enter hyperinflation territory mode.
Okay,
And that's
hold
what
on
I'm
a sec,
afraid of.
Hold on. This is
What's
I have a problem with
hyperinflation?
hyperinflation.
Like, let's define
in Canada.
hyperinflation here.
I have a problem with this.
Yeah.
I can see inflation, and I can see like some pretty dumb inflation, but hyper,
Yeah. Well, we don't see, I kept saying, even back in 2017,
like
I was saying,
Zimbabwe, like
define hyper.
trillion
Define
dollar Canadian bill.
well, hyperinflation is basically when the currency starts to devalue so badly, and governments keep overprinting money more than they and paying off their debt. Now, that's happening to Japan yesterday. Japan, on record for the first time, has bought 50% of its debt.
Yeah, but everybody's doing it.
Let's
It's
just
like,
stay
it's
on.
the
Let's just
cool
stay
thing to
quickly
do,
here.
right?
Hyperinflation. Give me
Yeah.
a number. What you perceive hyperinflation to be?
Well, I just perceive currency basically becoming toilet paper, right?
So that would be thousands of percent.
Well,
inflation?
not in this next couple of. I'm talking about if we don't curve
What's
interest
the
rates.
worst case scenario? What's the number? Worst case scenario inflation in Canada. Could it be a record? Like we're going to hit like 30%?
I think we throw
inflation?
around things like hyperinflation, which I'm sure that there is an actual definition of, and I think it's like crazy amounts.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
I'm not
It's a
saying
lot
we're
of
gonna-
time.
I'm not
month
saying-
over
Yeah.
month
So it's
or week
let's call it
over week.
high record high inflation.
Okay,
Not so
I'm just
inflation.
saying. I'm just saying.
Banana inflation.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm not saying
Unbearable.
we're going to enter
Just
hyperinflationary
inflation.
territory, but if we
Okay.
don't raise interest rates to curb what we are basically, we need to adjust to it. Basically, it's very simple. It's a take and give situation, and if we don't, and we keep, if you go back to 2017, we raised interest rates in 2017. If you guys remember.
Yeah. But that's what I'm
raised it
saying.
to-
How come this time they're not going to just like throttle it back and forth as the market tanks? Like, why is this time the time that they're just going to go, okay, like let them all die, let it go. This is better for everybody.
Well, they're going to have to. They did it during the early Reagan administration. I don't know if you guys remember your parents paying 16% interest on their mortgage or 14%. They had to. It had to be done. It had to be done. Or they were going to start to see
the household debt levels weren't at where they are today.
not even
right?
close.
That
Not-
bankrupts
and that's
like
why-
everyone.
And
So
that's
that
why I'm
becomes the
touching on
issue.
hyperinflation, because we have over leveraged and quadruple leveraged and taken leverage on leverage. And the consumer, the independent consumer, has taken out more than what they could pay back. And a
Right.
lot of banking institutions and lending institutions are seeing that.
So in normal economics, what you say and what guys like Kiyosaki and guys like Peter Schiff, like all you guys using logic and economics, like it all makes sense. But what we see and what we even talked about last time is that it's manipulated. So even though we think this is what should happen based on the current like rules, they're allowed to tweak the rules all the time.
We're gonna get an announcement from the government very soon, within the next 12 months, that says, you know, that target inflation rate we used to have between 2 and 3%. Well, here's why that's bad. And actually, it should be between 4 and 5%. And we can manage it in all these different
Yeah.
ways. And they will accept a new inflationary level.
Because of
And
Putin.
and then they'll say, we're not going to raise interest rates anymore because they're not going to want to bankrupt everybody. Right.
So this is
So
good.
Based on what Mike is saying, like hyperinflation, high inflation, so extremely high inflation. I get it, but it's going to be a period where we're just going to have to accept the fact that we're going to be living in a high inflationary environment probably for the next 10 years.
Right.
Right.
But the inflationary environment is going to keep increasing. It doesn't plateau. Right.
I understand.
Inflation keeps going up. Right. The price of fuel is going to keep going up. The price of commodities are going to keep going up. The price of
Assets,
toilet paper.
real estate.
You know what I mean? No, but the problem with real estate has already been out of reach. Like here where I am in Western Canada, it's already been out of reach. And that's why I was preaching to people to get out of the cities.
Okay.
Right. I have
But-
videos going
which
back.
makes
10
a
years
lot
now.
of sense. We keep talking to
We
people
got that on
from
record.
yeah, but anyway, we've talked to people from New Brunswick and Saskatchewan, where, I mean, it sounds to me like, wages are in line with prices of homes. Homes are reasonably priced. And because of that reasonable price, these shifts in interest rates are not as meaningful as they are out where you are and where we are in the extreme west and east of the of the country.
Which
Yeah.
is why New Brunswick had a 30% year over year growth recently, June,
Right.
and we just reported ours at 5.3.
Right, because we're no
Right.
geniuses.
So
I
New
mean, people
Brunswick's
have
doing
figured it
great.
out, right?
Yeah.
People have figured it out.
Canadian real estate market too, right? Canadian real estate market, I think.
Saskatchewan was up. Saskatchewan was up.
Saskatchewan's
New
up,
Brunswick
yeah.
was
Manitoba.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't been able to find anybody that really lives in Manitoba, so we're still waiting to get somebody on the
We
show.
put some
from
calls out though. All right.
We
Guys.
think it exists, but
Yeah.
we're not sure.
This goes back to the stress test that they implemented in Vancouver in 2017. And then they implemented the stress test across Canada to make sure that Canadians could afford their properties in 2018. Now, guess what? Nova Scotia, Halifax, Saskatoon, all of them qualified. Everybody in those provinces with their wages and incomes all qualified for real estate in those places. But in Vancouver and Toronto and surrounding areas, they didn't qualify. So they had to scrap that stress test.
What do you think about the appraisers?
We still have the stress test, Mike. We
What?
still have the stress test.
Well, it's basically the bank just checking your total debt service ratio.
Yeah, but we still have it. It's still
Yeah,
it's still
just
being
ma-
utilized. It hasn't changed yet, but that's going to change probably by the end of this year.
Okay.
Do you think the appraisers should be held accountable for these heightened values?
You know what? Appraisers won't be used if they go out and bring back a return of a property lower than what's expected by the banks.
Explain that. Sorry, they won't be used, as in we won't need them anymore, or
Or they won't get the next job if they don't
they
bring
won't get the
back the
job.
right number.
okay.
Trust me.
Yeah.
I know. I was an
Yeah.
appraiser. I've seen things
Oh.
before.
We've got some juice. Give
Many
us some
man
juice,
of many
man.
hats. Man of many
yeah.
hats.
Give us a story. Tell us what you've seen.
Well,
You don't wear that hat anymore.
I used to work in the financial sector. I signed a lot of disclosure paperwork, but I worked in a financial sector at a very medium to high capacity level. Let's say at a district to regional level.
What did you see?
Okay.
Lots of things. I seen underwriting deals. Deals get underwritten for people that couldn't afford the mortgage, like a mortgage, for example.
Knowingly?
We'd look at the deal. We'd look
Yeah.
at the deal, and we'd say, "This guy's going to falter in 6 months." There's no way there's no way the underwriter could approve this deal. It gets sent to underwritten. It gets approved, and I'm like, "Wow." And it's about putting numbers on the books, and that's what it's been about since pretty much 2012. It's about putting the numbers on the books, growing our financial fire sector, real estate, insurance, all that stuff, and that's what it's all been about. And that's why Canada, I believe, is so heavily hinged on real estate to prop its economy. And I don't want to go too far off topic, but Australia now is in danger because they have a $10.2 trillion economy, crazy economy that's based off of housing for the last 15 years in Australia. And now they're feeling it.
What percentage of GDP is their real estate? Do we know? Is
I
it
don't
more
know.
than
I don't know
here?
offhand. I don't
Is it
know
more than
offhand.
China?
What's that, sir?
Is it more than China's GDP or percentage of GDP?
I think it is because Australia no longer
That's
is
crazy.
fabricating and exporting like they used to back in the 80s. So that's what I've gotten on the ground. I'll get someone on.
We're gonna
you
get
guys-
someone in Sydney. We're gonna have to do a midnight show, Daryl.
You know where you need somebody on the ground? You need to get somebody in with these Dutch farmers. You guys see what's going on with the Dutch farmers?
No, tell
Is
us.
it the one where they're getting paid not to produce anything, or they're getting paid to retire?
No, they're
Governments are paying them to retire.
They're pulling a trucker convoy, but they got themselves a tank. They got
What?
themselves a tank, and they've got all the tractors and a tank and all these trucks blocking the highways and the train, the railroad tracks. It's pretty wild. They took it up a notch from the. So I saw somebody put up a tweet. They're like, in Canada, they bring like bouncy castles and a band, and over there they're bringing tanks. They're not screwing around. Well, but this is also, let me tie this into last time you were here, you called 2022 the year of the protest again.
That's correct. Yes.
So I mean, this is the first one that I've seen that I've kind of paid attention to. What are there other protests building up?
Yep.
I mean,
there's
China
a pile of
must be
protests in
crazy,
Chile.
man.
There was a pile of protests last weekend in Brazil. Last weekend there was a big protest in what you would call it, Australia. They're suppressing it in the media. Australia has been having protests pretty much steady for the last 2 years, and they've been locking it down and arresting people. There's been protests everywhere. Like I remember, I think it was it Iran? Oh, Sri Lanka. Oh my God, Sri Lanka. They haven't had power in 2 weeks now, and you can't even buy gas. You can't buy people cannot buy gasoline anymore. The military is outside. I made a video yesterday.
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, I watched that.
So they're cramping down. How there's a lot of protesting going on, but they want to keep it on the down low as much as possible, so it doesn't create any ideas in people in the northern hemisphere where the climate is warmer, and you could go out and protest if you like, because it's not snowing, right?
Yeah. So last time your forecast kind of came with a caveat that if China invaded Taiwan, that would prop up the Canadian housing market.
We lost that.
We lost that. But didn't we get a bunch of Ukrainian imports?
Nope.
No,
we lost the Taiwan. China now is bringing in, I have the article I could bring up, but the missing page here, what happened was Canada was bringing in, we talked about the billions of dollars transferred digitally from China in 2021 to Canada, right? We talked about that. It's over here. Can I share the screen if that's okay?
Yeah. Grab it.
I just want to show you guys. So the other article I wanted to show you guys, unfortunately, I have it. I had the article saved, but they took it down, so it's not here anymore.
Oh my gosh!
What the fuck?
They knew Mike Martins was on the case.
No, it's the National Post. They always take down stuff. So this one is still up.
Right.
So the reason why we had such a hot housing market in 2020, 2021 is because of the billions of dollars that mainland China and Hong Kong brought into Canada. That was huge. That helped. I spoke to a lot of real estate agents on the ground in parts of Canada. They told me the phones weren't stopping ringing. People wanted to just move money over and buy property. And again, there it is right there. But unfortunately, oops, I can't open that next screen there. Unfortunately, we lost the Taiwan deal, guys, because Taiwan kind of smartened up, so to say. And the Taiwanese and the mainland Chinese now are going to Indonesia now. Indonesia has launched a massive campaign. It's on the China Morning Post. You can look at it. It's like their third article down. That Indonesia has launched a massive campaign to bring in money launderers or people to bring money, to park money, to get their money offshore. And if I was in China, and I'll tell you straight up, I would want to get my money offshore too. I would want to get my money the hell out of that country. You know what I'm saying? If that was me too, I would want to get my family to safety. It's not just, it's just the zone of pain.
So we've lost because this is actually something that a lot of people have been bringing up, is whether or not the Chinese are going to bail us out. So where the Chinese are not going to bail us out of the Canadian housing market collapse. Correct?
No, they're not going to bail us out.
Okay.
Not going to bail us out. So
Not
they
gonna
are
bail us out.
not
There's our
an
update.
option.
Tell us about the Ukrainian war now. What's going on with Russia and the Ukraine? How is that going to affect the Canadian real estate market?
I don't want to really talk. I haven't taken sides on this matter, period. Because I take the sides of the people on the ground.
I feel like Saskatchewan. I feel like Saskatchewan's market is going to start booming.
We just want to know how's it going to affect the economy and the trade and immigration and everything else.
I think you'll see a little blips, just like Darryl just said. You'll see a few blips. Maybe in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, you might see a few blips, but it's not enough to keep the housing, this monster of a housing market that we've created. It's not enough. I don't think
the war won't save us as well.
No.
What's going to save us? Give the listener some hope. What is the scenario?
I'm going to give you guys hope.
Yeah.
Hold on a sec. All right.
What's the scenario that if this happens,
hope.
We're just back onto the bull run again and prices will climb?
When is it?
Prices will climb. Well, wages need to keep up with inflation. If they could find a way to market wages to keep up with inflation.
What about robots? What if robots come in and just decimate the workforce?
Yeah, that's something we talked about. A robotic workforce. That is something that the fast food chains and other establishments are looking into for sure. But to be honest with you guys, I don't see prices can't keep going up in housing, so to say. And then we start entering this bizarro stagflation, Japanification, weird timeline that we're going to be headed to. But if I want to give people some hope, they're going to raise rates. They're going to continue to raise rates because they're having a tough time hiding inflation. They're having a really tough time. And I think they're going to have no choice but to raise rates in line this time. And when they do, when people have to refinance their mortgage or people that are on a variable rate, they're going to start feeling the pressures. And a lot of people shouldn't have not jumped on the property market when they did with the FOMO or whatever it is, or people saying if you don't own, you'll be bought out of the market for the rest of your life. And that's the situation.
I think stagflation is something that, people keep mentioning, they keep talking about it. It's a pretty unique set of circumstances.
Yeah.
Right. In order for us to be able to continue on that, high inflationary period, it means that people are spending money. Right. And any recession that I'm familiar with, people tighten up. And if we're already starting to see the housing correction happen, we're going to start seeing the economic results of that as well too, where you're going to start construction and jobs and all these other things that are related to the housing industry, and we're going to start to see people spend less money. There'll be far less consumers out there, far less. What I mean is all that stuff. But this is why I'm saying this is because for us to get to stagflation, we really have to see the economy change, and right now we haven't. So I know that right now.
No, I'm saying what I'm addressing with stagflation is you're going to start seeing more toilet paper wars, so to say. People spending money they don't have already to buy things because they think the end of or something major is happening. And I did it myself. I purchased more solar panels for my house.
That was a pandemic, and that was a unique set of circumstances. Recession attitude is not to go out and buy a bunch of toilet paper. Recession attitude is to use less toilet paper. Start finding ways to not need as much toilet paper, right? So I can see the idea behind stagflation, and it's a threat, but at the end of the day, I don't see that result coming at this point.
I think we've been in some form of stagflation for years with changing to this kind of world order where everybody works together. We've driven prices down artificially by becoming like this world economy where a table that used to be made locally we've talked about it before, like a table made locally, made hard with your hands and done properly, that lasted for 20, 30, 50 years. You bought that thing for $2-3 grand, and now you buy a table for $299. Right. And somebody's making a shit ton of profit off that $299. And not only is somebody making a shit ton of profit, there's like probably 5 or 6 guys making a shit ton of margin on top of margin on top of margin by the time it gets to IKEA. Right.
Yeah.
And so we've been living in like this deflationary world where like wages have been not keeping up anywhere around the world. Every asset's been going up like crazy, but all like the consumer bullshit that's been coming from wherever the hell we can get it the cheapest has been bringing down or making us feel wealthier than we really are. But I got news for you, man. Like, as much as I agree with what you're saying, all this stuff still should happen. I still think it's way more profitable for whoever the fuck they are for things to be going in an upward direction. Like they're taking off like a little bit of the heat, right? They're taking off a little bit of the heat because they're not doing their jobs right now, right? Did they ever have inflation at 2%? Like for real?
No.
And so it's like we've been in this weird stagflation for a long time. Now what the fuck are we going into? Where the world economy is busting apart at the seams and everything is onshoring or reshoring to like a friendlier nation, and everything's all fucked up, and like everybody's oversupplied, and there's still like China's shutting down again because they got some new variant over there again today. Like the world's a bloody mess. So like how can they just pummel us on top of all this craziness going on? Do you really think that that's going to happen?
Darryl, can I add something to what you just said? If I could share the screen.
Sure. No permission needed.
I just want to make sure it's okay. So I want to show you guys this because it's kind of important. This is I made this compilation playlist for you guys, videos I made 7-8 years ago. Okay. Now this is what you're talking about too. Let me tie into what you're saying, D. Okay. Wages not keeping up with inflation, housing out of reach, a working poor society ahead in the West. This is from 7-8 years ago, right? Then this one's from 7 years ago. Watch this. Price of oil dropped. Darryl, do you remember when the price of oil 7-8 years ago dropped to almost $20 a barrel?
Yeah.
Well, but food prices go up. They can't hide inflation anymore, foodflation. So I was seeing the price of my food going up, but for the longest time, they were telling us that basically what they were telling was that, oh, the price of your food keeps going up because the price of oil keeps going up. So oil tipped at about 120, 140 a barrel, if you remember. Yeah. Then it crashed. They went down to almost $20 US a barrel. But then they said, oh, but see, food needs to continue going up because we just can't hide the inflation anymore.
No, or they take something out of the basket, the CPI basket. It's like, you know what? That doesn't need to be in there anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Let's keep this thing down.
Yeah.
So, but this is take this the right way, but like people that think along the same lines as you, and I'm not saying I'm not one of them, but like people that think along these same lines have been thinking along these same lines for a really, really long time. And we've had just kind of like these mini blips and then it comes back. Because I'll bet you in 2017, when they were bringing rates back up, you were probably like, oh yes, they're finally like doing what they're supposed to do and everything's going to be, great again. And then look what happened, right?
They slashed them. They ended up slashing it 3 times after they raised them. And it basically, I have it here on the channel Time Machine where I did make those videos, D. I did make them. It's going up. Here it is. Bank of Canada announces another rate hike and this and that. And it takes Canadians by storm. And I still remember, I think it was the Globe and Mail that was reporting that.
But why not predict or add into your predictions that they're going to pull the rug out from under your line of thinking again? And that in like 6 months, they're going to be forced to start raising rates again. I'm not saying they will. I just, based on how they've acted in the last few times, it just seems to me, I mean, they've only got 2 things, right? Like they're buying up treasuries or they're changing rates. And
yeah, they're running out of tools in their toolbox. And that's the problem. They don't have too many tools when it comes to monetary. You see, they should have just left. They should have just left the banking and stopped deregulating it and left everything on autopilot. If they left everything on autopilot, rates would have adjusted and crashed themselves. Job losses would have happened. And then in turn, people will lose their homes. And then they're going to have to start adjusting rates accordingly. And then, and so it goes, right? So it goes.
Do we need pitchforks? Do we need pitchforks and torches? Like, is it time?
Hold on, D, I got something here that I'm just going to add to what you said here real quick. So here it is. Rate hikes take nation by surprise. Canadians wake up to a rude awakening to understanding inflation. That's 4.5 years ago. Canadians looking for answers from the Bank of Canada after rate hike takes nation by storm. So there it is right there. And that we covered that on the channel. So
I think what we're talking about, like we're all talking as if rates right now are high. Rates are very low right now.
They're normal. They're fine.
They're very low. No, they're not even in the neutral zone yet.
Yeah, but they're going up another 75 points in like a few days.
And we'll see where they go and where they stop. But like, we're not even at that point. So really all this housing, this is the Canadian Real Estate Show. We're here to talk about housing. Really all the stuff that's been happening lately is all just buyer sentiment. It's just people don't feel like the future is bright. So they are pulling, back on their purchases, right? But they're not pulling back on their travel. They're not pulling back on their furniture. They're not pulling back on their renovations. They're all still out there spending.
Ask the people in the furniture market, retail furniture, if they're still spending. They're not spending.
They're not spending as much. Okay, let's see.
Go to a restaurant now. Well, that's the next question.
That's what people are going to pull back.
When it comes, bud. What do you mean when it comes? We're in it.
When we have 2 consecutive quarters of contraction. When we have 2 consecutive quarters.
Reported
saying.
quarters, reported.
Okay.
It's too late. It's too
that's
And
what
late.
again,
I'm
like
saying. When
Daryl
that
said,
happens-
at the beginning, they can manipulate
late.
anything. So they could say they could report what they need to report when they need to report and how to report it. So they keep the people in line. So 2022 won't be the year of the protest.
0.5% increase in GDP. They just narrowly escape a recession. And then the next quarter has to be 2 more quarters for it to actually be a recession. So we're 12 months too late.
I think rates right now are at a reasonable rate. I think they should be going up a little bit more and maintained at that rate for a while. I don't think that they're high right now. I don't think that this is a restrictive zone in rates. I mean, go just put it into a mortgage calculator. Just look at what it costs to borrow, $1 million.
So, but from your perspective, TK, at like being in the market every single day, does it feel like a seller's market still?
I'm not saying about the market. I'm just talking about the fundamental behind the cost of borrowing.
I get that though,
Right?
but like those
But
who actually,
those who really want to buy right now, what it's done is it's eliminated all the people who really didn't need to be buying, who are just buying because they heard it was a good time to buy, like what we're talking about, which is fine, right? But it's the people right now who need to buy, who really want to buy. They're going out there and they're still getting approvals and they're still getting, decent rates, and they can even have a variable rate if they want, or whatever their decision is for their own personal circumstances. They're still at an affordable range for their own taste, right? Especially with a stress test, adding 2% on top of the qualifying rate, which means that they're going to have a much easier time than what they really could afford based on the debt services.
so are your buyers now like a little bummed out with what they end up buying because it's not what they kind of had in mind? No, nobody. Everybody's
No.
like, oh, perfect. I can buy $200,000 less house.
It hasn't affected much. It's just been buyer sentiment, right? It's just been buyer sentiment. So for me, it's just about what are high rates? What is the high rate threshold that the bank needs to get to really
9.8%.
9.8. Look how precise and quick that
I
was.
actually
How
made
did you
an
come
entire
up with
What do you
that?
mean by
shit?
9.8? Is that what's the
I
Bank of
made a
Canada's
video.
overnight rate?
No, I made a lending rate. I made a video. I made a
That's
video
the 5-year fixed,
4
like
days
average
ago.
rate.
Yeah.
No, 4 or 5 weeks ago. Sorry, I made a video called "The Great Rate Revelation," and I went over each country in the Commonwealth and what rates need to be adjusted accordingly to what the price of what inflationary levels are and stuff. And Canada, I think, was at just around 9.7, 9.8%. It needs to be off so we can start seeing some of the bad debt to fall off and start to see resurgence in the economy and a resurgence in getting things back online. Because when they raised if you remember, when they raised rates 14, 15% back in the early 80s, you almost saw an overnight correction of the market once they raised rates that high. Literally overnight, the market started, you would see a correction in 2-3 quarters.
But if that's the playbook, why isn't that the play? Like, why don't we go boom?
Because their household debt
5%?
levels are higher now. You don't need to. They don't need to go up to 9.8% to get the result that they want. Look at what they did. They literally just took it out of the gutter and put it below neutral, and they still dropped sales 41%.
And it's
right?
dead. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's that point where they're going to
maybe they're going to stop soon. Maybe they're going to be like, okay, like it's kind of dead. It's flattening out.
That's the whole point of this.
But that's why I'm asking you.
Are they going to take rates up to that point where everyone is going to be in that cataclysmic sort of like, leaving the keys in the mailbox event? I don't think so. I don't think we stand a chance in that. I think already they've impacted the market, and over the next 12 months, we're going to see the economy suffer, and we're going to see inflation numbers get back under control,
or at least level off and not keep climbing
to an acceptable level.
stupid.
It'll be between 4 and 5, just using that number as an example. And the government will release reports to say, 4 to 5 is actually pretty reasonable, and we should maintain this level.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be acceptable, but we'll be forced to accept it.
Yeah, thank you, D. That was a good point. That was a good comeback there.
Well, I mean, that's just the case. That's like anything. I mean, we're forced to accept everything that we're dealing with, right? So
no houses should be $1 million. I'm sorry. There's nothing. Nobody's wages are in line. It's been out of whack for so long, And
That's not necessarily true either. Like there's plenty of people whose wages are in line with $1 million house. And even, there's a lot of people that.
What do you think, Mike? What should be the wages? So if I have $1 million house, what should be my mortgage and what should be my income, total family income?
Well, I honestly don't think you should have anyone should have $1 million house, to be honest with you.
No problem.
Well, that's okay. So what
$1 million house, how much would
what's the max someone should buy?
Be? What would be my mortgage?
About $246,000 a year.
Is what? My income?
Total combined income, like $185,000 to $240,000 a year, roughly.
Okay. And then what's my mortgage, like total amount? How much equity do I have in my home at $1 million home?
We just bought the house and there's no equity in it and it's building, or are we talking about?
Let's talk about that. First person, you're buying the house.
Okay. Well, there's obviously going to be no equity sitting in there because you just bought it, right? So depending on how much you got a down payment. Okay. So let's say 20 points.
Okay. So $800,000 mortgage.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're looking at about 2.5 to 3 times gross income in mortgage amount.
Okay.
That's acceptable to you? I'm just asking.
I think, no,
he wants people to buy a house for $500,000.
You want people
like 250 of that.
Exactly. So you want double my income. So if I make $100,000, the most mortgage they'll give me is $200,000. Is that what you're saying?
No. If you make $100,000, you should be able to get into something that's at least 375, 400.
So if I have 240, that means I can afford a house that's 1.2 with 20% down then.
Here's the problem. Now we're going to play the rate. We're going to play the unpredictable, what the governments and banks and deregulators are going to do to you in the future. That's the problem. That's when you get into the debt trap.
Okay.
Because if they decide to raise rates,
how much debt
which they would, they're going to raise rates, and they will. And they will curb this inflation.
Okay.
And this is going to fall apart. Okay. Look, you want to see what's falling apart right now?
Let's see what's falling. That's why we got you here.
Let's see what's falling apart right now.
I want to know what are the
Look at this.
Possible implications.
Look at this. This is what people should be looking at. This is what Canada should have. If we didn't have crown land and we didn't have we didn't have free land, look at that.
What are the property taxes?
Where are we? Where are we here?
Oh, just southern United States. Okay, I'm just showing this is what prices should be. People are paying. I know a guy in Florida that pays $600 a year in property tax, a 4-bedroom with a pool in the Fashion District in Pompano Beach.
But you can't even buy like the lumber and the steel for these prices.
Thank you, D. Thank you, D. And you know why, Darryl, I'm bringing this up? Because last time I brought this up to show you guys, you said, Darryl, you said it in your words. You can't even build it for that much here in Canada.
Yeah, you can't.
This is what Canada. This is what it should be. It should.
I don't think like they can there either, though. How
they
can
can't build it there either? These are all like old properties, right?
Old properties.
And look, you're right though. By the way, like it's not like what you're showing us. These are the prices, and there's even new construction that you'll be at like let's say 350, way lower than Canada, way lower.
But I'm telling you guys because I want to create this awareness. A lot of Canadians are running up to buy like old stuff, like older than this, like that house on Dufferin and Rogers area, that 400 square or 600 square foot house that sold for $1.6 million. That's what I'm trying to say is that people in Canada are desperate and they're jumping on these. They bought these properties that they couldn't afford in the first place, and now. How do you justify a $1.2 million shack like in Vancouver, these empty shacks and stuff that are just sitting there crumbling on fire, burning to the ground? They're just sitting there empty. How do you justify people buying that and then not expecting to be a correction in the markets? Rates will go up to curb inflation.
A legal disclaimer. Sorry, Mike. The property that you're mentioning is not a property Darryl and I have ever discussed on the show before. Yeah. Just a legal disclaimer, okay?
I was going to say the same.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thanks,
I don't want to
get... No, it's okay. Not your fault.
I wonder if
I like you guys very much. I do. Yeah. I really like you guys.
That was awesome.
I don't want to
hold on a sec.
Where are we at right now? Hold on. Where are we at right now?
$50,000. Like, let's think about this. How are these prices there? Like,
can I tell you, Darryl? Darryl, can I tell you? Because wages are tied to incomes in the red states. You go to Florida, Alabama, Georgia. I've lived there. I've been all over that place. I've been to Macon, Georgia. I've been to Atlanta. I've been to Valdosta. I've been to all over Florida, Gainesville. I've been everywhere. Incomes are tied to mortgage prices. Period. 4 times your annual income gets you a house. And if you go over 4.5 times,
The land
But-
should be worth at least 50,000. Forget about a usable house.
Mike,
Daryl,
you just-
don't make
you
me
just-
show you. Don't make me show you land for $12,000 to $15,000 in Texas and
it should
Florida.
be free based on what the value will be. But you're right. We have a few places like that too. Maybe not as relative, but the wages you just said 4 times annual income, right?
4.5.
4.5. Okay. Well, if your income's $40,000, right, and you get a $200,000 mortgage, then that makes sense. You buy a $200,000 house, you put 5% down. That makes sense. Well, here in Toronto, it's a big city, Vancouver, big city. They have higher wages. So I agree in areas like Saskatchewan and Manitoba, if anybody lives there, New Brunswick, areas where
It does
$300,000 to
exist.
$350,000 is a reasonable budget. Then yeah, those people making like 60 grand, that's going to be a good purchase for them. But what about someone in Toronto with $150,000 income?
But
Well,
is
somebody
it,
in Toronto, this is my advice to somebody in Toronto, is to get into something affordable. Like that's why
But
we're
they could
seeing
get a
this
$700,000
mass-
or $800,000 mortgage then.
but can
That's
we
why
even
everybody-
Not
ever,
affordable?
we can't ever get in line with those prices. Like you can't even old built product will never get in line with $99,000. There's nowhere in Canada. Is there?
Here,
Is there
Daryl.
somewhere in Canada?
Daryl, let's go halves on this one. Me and you, we'll go halves on our credit card. We'll pick
Okay.
this guy up. 5 bedrooms, 2 bath, 2,500 square feet, and it's on a couple of acres of land, 45 grand.
This is crazy. This is better than what we looked at in New Brunswick. It had nothing on it, TK.
Oh, can I say something, guys, to add to New Brunswick? Okay, it's affordable. Look at the property tax in New Brunswick. It's
is it?
crazy. If you have $1 million home in New Brunswick,
Crazy.
your property taxes are $18,500 a year. Look it up and you'll see.
Why? What?
If you go, okay, I have to see if I could find the link. It's from the Canadian website of blah, 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 property tax assessment observation. So it breaks down Ontario, it breaks down all the cities in every province. In New Brunswick, if you have a house that's between, I think it's 500 to 800,000, your property taxes are like 9,800. And if you have it over $1 million house, it's like 17,000 a year in New Brunswick.
Yeah, but in Texas and Florida, they're really expensive too. Like,
Property
what are those
tax?
property
No
ta-
way. Property tax is dirt
Show
cheap.
me. I'm
Let's see the
I'm not
property
an expert in
taxes on
those
those.
areas. I was under the understanding.
No, I'm saying, like, I'm
the
telling
taxes
you
are a lot
from,
higher.
I own property in Florida.
Okay, I'm just asking. Can you show me on Realtors? Doesn't it show the taxes or no?
No, not on the Zillow website. I don't know why.
Okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. It's okay.
Okay, like a year ago, I bought some land in Texas for like 7 grand. I paid land transfer tax. I paid everything. And
Was that more than the purchase price?
what's that?
Was the transfer tax more than the purchase price?
Well, the purchase price was 11,000.
Oh, 11,000. Okay, I thought you said 7. Okay.
No. It was 11,000 all in with everything done.
Okay.
So So
With a house on it?
no, there's an unsanctioned home on it. So basically, it's not part of the state, so I can't get mail to it. But I could put solar panels, and you could live in it if you really want. It's got a well, so it's unsanctioned home. It's not in, like,
What
it's
does that
not.
It's off the grid.
Off
Yeah.
the grid?
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
a legal home technically.
It has a
Technically.
roof. It
Like,
has a
so when
roof.
they come with the SWAT team to get you out, technically you can stay there?
Well, no, because you own the land, right? It's land rights in America is different. Like it's
You
kind of
own
different.
the land, but the house is a little iffy and it costs $11,000.
There's a lot of houses like that in the States. If we look
What are you
up
doing
land-
with it?
Huh?
What are you doing with that house? What's
Nothing.
going
I
on?
just it's just there. I'm gonna probably take the family down and do something. I don't know. And I've owned bought and sold properties in Florida for the last 10, 12, 15, 8 since 2008, 2009. I was
How
buying up
hard would
properties.
it be to find some sucker to pay like 22 grand and double your money over there?
I don't want to do that though. I don't want to. I just want to hold, because they don't make land like they print money.
Well, I mean, if there's $11,000 land, I mean, it can't be unique to your property. It must be all around that area, right?
Yeah, there's tons of land in those specific areas, just outside of Conroe, Texas.
So you just bought it. You're not even renting it out. You don't like
There's nothing we can't. It's unrentable. It's not. It's dilapidated.
not
so-
even livable. Okay, so it's just a piece of land. So why do you think that was better than some other asset to purchase?
I just felt that again, land is a finite, and I was gambling too. Just thinking, maybe Texas, because I was looking at the
Maybe
Texas
one day.
market, the Houston, the Dallas market, and rural areas of Texas have been going up,
Yeah.
right? So I was kind of looking at that. I was looking at Amerifornia, where people from Oregon, California, and stuff will start pushing up rural parts of Texas land and stuff like that, right?
So you are just like dead set against the Canadian market. You don't want to invest anywhere. You don't think that there's a good place to buy anywhere from east to west of this entire nation?
No, it's severely overpriced, and if you do get something, they're going to tax you to death on it too, right?
They're going to tax you to death. So speaking of all these things, I mean, you seem like a guy who you said before that part of the problem was the banking system. Like, what about Bitcoin? What about cryptocurrencies and DeFi?
I haven't touched those things. I have never really got involved.
You don't buy all that stuff.
No.
All right. Well, so
I buy gold. I buy some gold, some silver, for the last 10 years.
You're just a traditional kind of guy. You're just a traditionalist. So part of my theory is that the guys like you that are traditionalists, you're just clinging on to the old way of thinking and the old way of doing things. And you just can't accept the idea that maybe it's going to be different right now, because everybody always says this time will be different. And I'm sure that, Mr. D. Trent will blast the crap out of me in the comments for the things that I've said today, but he's also one of those kind of old timer traditionalists. And a lot of people in the comments section are, thinking with logic. I mean, that's the thing, is that people that are thinking traditionally are thinking with logic of how the market should work. But I just don't think it does anymore. I think we're in for like some weird outcome that nobody could predict.
Exactly.
Like every
never had the
other
same
time, right?
economic decade ever.
Nobody's fucking right. Like nobody has
and in one side of their mouth, they're saying inflation is going to be record high. And the other side of the mouth, they're saying the price of hard assets is going to go down. Right. So again, that goes against what the principle on inflation is. Right. So it's like,
and everyone's got their own ideas. Are like gold is, a hedge against inflation, and gold does nothing. I mean, I guess there's ways that people can prove that gold has stood up against the US dollar.
Okay, guys, let me just share this screen before I get destroyed in the comments. So there it is right there.
This is we're not actively commenting. It's not.
This is the most accurate Canadian property taxes by province. Most accurate. So there's your assessed values of your homes, and there is what you pay in property tax. So there's Vancouver. You see how the property tax is low because housing is higher. There's Kelowna. I pay $4,300 a year for property tax, and my town has 2 stoplights and no infrastructure, and our hospital is not really open anymore, and the police go home at 3:00 in the afternoon. So there's Alberta there. So this is what I was bringing up here. There's Toronto. That's what the average, if your house is assessed over $1 million. It's a great tool to use and to enter into your when you're calculating your total debt service ratio to find out what you qualify. There's New Brunswick. This is what I said. St. John, if your house exceeds $1 million, you're paying $17,850.
Holy.
Fredericton, 14 large.
Mm-hmm.
And then
why would you go out there and spend $1 million?
But nobody's
a palace for 300.
Yeah, that's because there is no house. They're like, what if we have $1 million assessed value? What are we going to do? Let's charge them 18 grand. It'll never happen.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying that there it is, 500 large.
That's a good way to keep out these McMansions.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for showing us. That's great.
Yeah, I just don't want to like make your viewers think that I'm just making stuff up as we go along or as I go along.
That's what I told you. Stay on top of it. Good job.
You are the man. Not only are you the Canadian Alex Jones, you're like this oracle, right? You got like this crystal ball.
I wouldn't say it's an oracle.
The only thing is like your timing might be a little off. Although this time you were bang on, I think a lot of stuff has taken a lot longer to come to fruition than you would have hoped. And then they throw you curveballs every once in a while.
When's the bottom of the market? The market's going down across Canada, Mike. When's the bottom of the market?
I have listened to this point to find out. Where's the bottom?
Q1 2023.
Hold on, let me write this right.
That's the bottom?
Oh, buddy, but it's going to be a bottom. It's going to be a bottom. It's going to be a bottom. So
Like a bottom. What's like a bottom? Like, are we talking like
we're going to see a huge correction right across the board. Housing is just unaffordable. It's been unaffordable for too long now. And there's just too many Canadians, that were watching us 10 years ago that were 15. They're 25 now, and they can't get into anything. You know what I'm saying? So that generation is going to keep moving forward as we die off, and they're going to want to see what their forefathers and grandfathers, whatever, had, and it worked. You know what I'm saying? It worked. It worked with us for a long time, but unfortunately, they started the deregulation of the banking system and created this Frankenstein monster we're in today.
So you basically see in the next 5-6 months a deep nosedive of a crash in prices, which we need a number. What do we consider like this deep?
From
Is it
peak to trough?
30%? Is it 50%?
No, we're going to see maybe a correction in if you want to specifically target housing, you're going to probably see by Christmas time this year a 21% correction right across the board, and it's going to hurt.
21% from the peak in February down by Christmas, 21%.
Yep.
Q1 2023
we're almost
says
there.
the Oracle.
We're almost there, to be honest with
Canada.
Oh yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
don't have to push this.
Yeah.
In 100 years, we're gonna no. I'm pushing this like very close because the deadline's getting close
But
here.
the good news is this, though, in
How
Q1
do
to
we-
2023, that's going to be the bottom. That's what you're saying.
Well, but how are
So,
we going to
we're talking, but it's going to be a bottom of bottoms,
How can we
and the
tell it's
recovery
bottom?
from the bottom is going to take a long time.
But if you're
There are
looking
parts
to buy,
of America that are still recovering from the 2008 correction. There's still lots of parts of America that are still recovering today.
but if someone's looking to buy and they wait till Q2 2023, then they would have avoided the crash.
I would hope. I hope I'm right about this. I really hope that I want to see the light at the end of the tunnel closer. I want to see resolution closer. I want to see answers, and I want to see people taking like these regulators and the banking and the politicians taking accountability for all this BS. I want to see it sooner than later.
But does this quick 21% correction and then back again, is that going to teach anybody anything?
No, there's
Are we
two
going to get
scenarios.
what we need?
No, it will never teach anybody anything because we're always doomed to repeat our mistakes, no matter what. But there might be something in the hole. Hold on, let me add something here, please.
Go ahead.
There's one little issue. Just like they slashed rates back in 2017. Just like they raised rates in 2017 and then slashed them back because people were panicking. After another rate hike, they might slash rates again. They might do it again. I don't want it to happen, but it's already happened back 5 years ago and we've seen it. It's there.
China raised rates already.
I understand.
Or
But
dropped
I'm
rates
saying
again. I mean,
this might start a sense of huge panic that they might have to just go ahead and keep this inflation. And then that's why I talked early. It's unheard of in a Western country to see with the monetary systems that we have a hyperinflationary territory. We want, but I'm saying is, do we raise rates to curb inflation, or do they then slash them later and then continue with this hyperinflation? Inflationary period we're headed towards, like higher.
yeah.
And that's what I'm afraid of. They need to put regulations back in the banking systems to protect the average guy like myself that doesn't want to watch and see what the banks are doing and what they're doing to our bank accounts. Are they going to negative rates? Are they doing this? Are they doing that? I want to be able to hold confidence in the people that run this stuff, that they're not screwing with us. But unfortunately, that's what's been happening for the last 12 years.
Well, folks, you heard it here first. The Oracle of Canada, the Canadian Alex Jones, joins us once again and predicts Q1 2023, a deep, devastating 21% across the board crash in the Canadian housing market, only to take a long time to recover. What's a long time? Is it a decade?
I think you started seeing these patterns in 2010. The pattern started in 2010. You start seeing deregulation of the banking system in 2011, and then into 2014, they started. Banks were just approving things they shouldn't have approved, and it's been accumulating for a while. This storm's been over us for a long.
When is it going to get back to the peak? So peak is February 2022. What year
Reach
will
deep.
prices return to that February 2022 peak?
Reach deep, Oracle.
Oh.
Reach deep.
Oh no, that's I don't know. Unless if wages don't keep up, we're talking decades down the road before you see something like that again.
Multiple decades.
You could make fun of me. You could make fun of me, but,
No,
it will take a long
You're
time
not
for it to
alone.
reach.
It took 12 years to come back from the 1990 correction.
But I think as wages are going up currently, which I mean, there's no denying that wages are going up across the board everywhere right now. But as those wages are coming up, there's people looking for cheaper places with cheaper wages to replace their current wages, and automation that completely obliterates the wages that they pay. So I think the world is in for an interesting ride over the next little while, but thank God the real estate market the pain will be over soon enough. According to Mr. Mike Martins, thank you for your time once again, sir. Do you have anything to add, Mr. TK?
If you're still watching this video at this point, okay, and you're committed to the Canadian Real Estate Show, give us a like, give us a comment, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and check out Mike's channel. Mike, shameless plug. Go ahead.
It's just Mike Martins. I don't know if it's going to be up I don't know how long it's going to be up. So
They might be taking him down soon because he's spitting the truth.
14
Check out his
times.
channel.
14 times he's been taken down. But you know what I found today that I didn't know existed? The Portuguese Mike Martins channel. That thing's got more subs than the other channel. That thing is hopping. I don't know what he's talking about.
And I have a Spanish one too. You'll find the Spanish one too.
Look at this. This guy's on fire. Thank you, Mr. Oracle.
Thanks,
once
Mike.
again.
God bless you guys. Thank you so much for your time.